What's up, YouTube? It's me, Evan, back with another collection video. This is for one of my all-time favorite systems, the Sega Saturn. So this was the Sega Saturn model I bought. It was the second model they came out with. It had round buttons. And then this is a to play import games. And it also, it's called Action Replay. It also has the 4 megs of RAM in there for certain games to give it graphical boosts to make it as good as the arcade. And here's the next Sega Saturn I bought at the Midwest Gaming Classic. This is the Japanese Saturn. And this is the 4 megs of RAM to add power to the system to make it a arcade quality game. Just love the Japanese library for the Sega Saturn. That's its bread and butter. That's why I bought the Japanese system. Just wanted to have it. Here is the Sega Saturn controller. You'll hear me talk about it in other videos. Now this is the American one. The second version. They copied the Japanese format, because the original one they came out with the first release in America was big and bulky and ugly and uncomfortable. Luckily I never bought that. So this is it. The greatest D-pad at the time. 6 buttons for combos and fighting games. You got your 3 punches, 3 kicks. And the shoulder buttons, you can map them to do different things. Dash, super jump, stuff like that. So comfortable. Great combos. Best controller ever, in my opinion. Then here is the Japanese controller. They added color. And the D-pad has a different material. It's made out of a different material. It's non-slip. So you can't get sweaty and slip. Your thumb sticks to it. So it's better than the American. This is the Japanese controller that came with Nights into Dreams, a video game for Sega Saturn. And it is the precursor to the Dreamcast. It has the D-pad here, the 3D stick here, joystick. And then this had the 6-button layout though, which is better than the Dreamcast, which only had 4. And it still has the trigger. So, I mean, this was better. The Dreamcast stick was better than this, but the D-pad and buttons are better on this. So they just could have improved upon that and stuck their VMUs there and whatever. But it's really good controller for a great game. Another accessory every Saturn owner needed at the time. This was the first key I got to unlock Japanese games. And you had to stick this in there, put the disc in, and if you had the 4 megs of RAM, you had to take this out and switch it, and the timing had to be perfect in order to get it to still play with the 4. It was a nightmare. Luckily, other companies came out with better versions of the keys. You didn't have to swap anymore. Now on to the games. So this came with my Sega Saturn. I got the bundle deal. I seen it advertised on Raw is War, WWF wrestling at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta have that. I was in love with Virtua Fighter 2 in the arcades. I played it all the time. Virtual Cop was a great shooter to me. Had a lot of fun. Daytona. These are 3 games I played in the arcade a lot. I couldn't believe that they all came together with one system. I had to have it. So here is the gun for the Sega Saturn. For Virtual Cop 2, and House of the Dead. I do have 2 of these. I like a 2-player. This was so much fun at the time. Had a little thing here for whatever. Maybe start or something. First game in my games catalog is Alien Trilogy. It was a first-person shooter. At the time, it was very scary, even though the graphics are very tame now, but huge fan of Alien games, had to get it. I'm a huge comic book nerd. If you watch my channel at all, I love the Hulk. He's one of my favorite characters. So I heard they made a Hulk game, had to get it. It's made by Eidos, and it's extremely crappy game. You see a theme here with the nerdiness. Another comic book game, Iron Man and Exo. There's a crossover, 2 different comic book properties. It was a side-scrolling shooter. It was actually kind of fun. It wasn't a bad game. Here goes 2 fun shoot 'em ups to me. This is a top-down. This is a side-scroller. Side-scroller one, you fight fish. You shoot against robotic space fish. Very strange, but a lot of fun. Next is on to the fighting games. I'm starting with the best of them all. Just kidding. This was a horrible game. The movie was horrible, but it's a Street Fighter game. Had to get it because I'm obsessed. Graphics suck. Gameplay sucks. Nothing like the arcade version. Horrible game. Now we're on to some good ones. We got the Street Fighter Collection. This had the Street Fighter 2 games in it. Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold. Alpha 2 Gold, I think, added Cammy. It was the first time Cammy was in an Alpha game. And it was amazing. Cammy's one of my favorite characters to play as. And then we got the original Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2. Great games. Then we got Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. I love this series. The first game I ever got in the series was actually Vampire Saviors, the greatest version of the game. But I went back and got these to try these because I'm just a fan of the series. If you were a kid of the 90s, you're probably a fan of the 90s cartoon series X-Men. And before that, if you've seen the anime pilot they came out with Kitty Pryde and all that. But X-Men shows are Adam. I had to have it. I love Capcom. I love X-Men. I love fighting games. So this was dream come true getting this game. As you can see, it got 5 out of 5 from GamePro, which is insane because this is a horrible port of the game. Marvel Superheroes was a much better port. You could actually use the 4 megs of RAM to make it a little better. But this one was missing so many frames of animation. It was very ugly. And it played good, but it was ugly. And it had like a tournament mode. It had different modes than the arcade did. But this is much, much improved. Keeping on the Capcom hype, we got Mega Man X4. I actually beat this, believe it or not. It was very cool. It had anime cutscenes. I loved it. It was challenging but fun. Resident Evil, I never beat. I tried it and tried it and tried. I couldn't beat it. I kept getting stuck on one part. I never looked at a strategy guide to figure it out, but yeah, the snake. I think I killed the snake and then I got stuck. I don't know. But it was scary at the time. The graphics were amazing. That dog bursting through the window made my heart stop. Awesome game. Some more light gun games. We got House of the Dead, which you had to use a code to get red blood. Because the Japanese version had red blood, but the American version had green blood. It was very cool. Enjoyed it a lot. Virtual Cop 2, up there as my... I think Time Crisis 2 and Virtual Cop 2 are my favorite light gun shooters of all time. I mean, the graphics were so smooth compared to the first game. They improved upon it. And the accuracy of shots. If you shot somebody in the foot, they'd grab their foot. If you shot them in the crotch, they'd grab their crotch. If you shot them in the head, shoulder, like the hit detection was amazing. The animations the characters would have. And you could even shoot out tires on cars. It was such a great game. And here goes a famous on-rail shooters, Panzer Dragoon. It was a lot of fun. It's a good game. Here we got a kind of sequel to Daytona USA, a little better graphics. And Sega Rally Championship. Great graphics, great mechanics. Love that game. I love Virtua Fighter 2 so much I had to get Virtua Fighter Kids. This was a lot of fun to play. The graphics are better than Virtua Fighter 2. It was good gameplay. Cutesy graphics. Kind of made fun of the game. Took out the seriousness of the storyline. It was fun. For some reason, Sega never released a real Sonic game for the system. But we had a Sonic Racing game, which sucked, and Sonic Jam, which was very cool. Kind of had like a 3D, a precursor to Sonic Adventure in here. But it was just a little world you tooled around with the go to the different games. It was enjoyable. Croc Legend of the whatever that word is. It was a great platforming game. It worked better with the 3D thumbstick Dreamcast-like controller. Need for Speed. I love this game to death. I played it so many times. It was a lot of fun. Cool Ferraris and Lamborghinis and stuff like that. Get chased by the police, try not to get caught. Great game. Here goes Knights. This is the version that came with the controller. This was a really amazing. These graphics blew my mind when I first saw it. It was like the pinnacle at the time. And then, now onto Japanese games. Of course, if I have a system, I gotta have a Godzilla game for it. Can't be helped. So this game was kind of like a RTS or something. Cool artwork and all that. Love Godzilla, gotta have it. Japanese version of Daytona USA, because why not? I saw it at a Midwest Gaming Convention for like $5. Had to pick it up. This is an anime that I was obsessed with back in the day, Blue Seed. Really enjoyed it. Had to get the game. It's an RPG with lots of cutscenes from the anime. Couldn't comprehend it because it's in Japanese. This is a 2D side-scrolling game, which was a lot of fun. I don't know the name of it because it's in Japanese, but had amazing graphics. The gameplay was a lot of fun. I love my crossovers. This is Super Robot Wars. It's a crossover between Evangelion, Gundam, Getter Robo. Couldn't comprehend how to play it though. An anime I didn't like too much, but I wanted to try the video game. Evangelion. Bunch of anime cutscenes and a bunch of Japanese talking. Couldn't comprehend how to play it. It did come with trading cards and very thick booklet. Here goes some awesome Japanese shoot 'em ups. We got Gunbird. And this one I don't know the name of, but just look at the boss fights and stuff like that. So weird. I love weird Japanese games. I can't get enough. They entertain me to no end. This is an awesome side-scrolling 2D, RPG kind of. The American version's really, really expensive, so I got the Japanese version just so I could play it. Pretty cool. Now on to the fighting games. This is Cyberbots. You play as giant robots fighting each other. And there's even a secret giant robot Akuma in here. And you can do Raging Demon and all that. It's a lot of fun. This is where Jin and his robot comes from Marvel vs. Capcom. Here goes the Japanese versions for X-Men Children of Atom and Marvel Superheroes. Look how cool this cover is compared to what the American one looked like. Look at that. This one's not as cool, but Jim Lee Psylocke. Love these games. In this version, you can play Magneto and Juggernaut, the boss characters. You couldn't do that in the American. And then here goes X-Men vs. Street Fighter. This came with the 4 meg RAM. That's why the box is so fat. So you could play arcade perfect quality. And then this is the Marvel Superheroes. It also uses the 4 meg RAM. Arcade. Pretty much perfect gameplay. All the animations added in. You can't do better than that. Amazing. Love these games to death. And then Darkstalkers in Japan is called Vampire Hunter. And then this is Vampire Saviors. This is where Jedi appeared. Had more characters. This is the best version. Just got this because I wanted to collect the series in Japan and in America. Love them. Pocket Fighter is a fun 3-button, cartoony, super deformed fighting game. It's epic. If you're a fan of Capcom, they all kinds of Easter games in there from every Capcom series. It's so much fun. So they took the sprites from Puzzle Fighter, threw them in a fighting game. And then this is Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 03 in Japan. I decided to get the Saturn version because some people say it's better than the Dreamcast. I did enjoy it, but I still love the Dreamcast more. We got some OG Dragon Ball games. This one is a kind of like a 2D arena fighter before arena fighters existed. You have to fly around, meet each other. The stages are huge, all 2D. And you have a meter where you battle back and forth. And if your meter wins, you get to do a special move. And that's how you win the game. And then this is a 2D fighting game. It was actually really cool. Great roster. This is the character select screen. It was a lot of fun. Here goes Virtual Fighter clone called Fighting Vipers, where you got to pound people against the walls. Because in Virtual Fighter, you got knocked out. It's ring out. In here, you got knocked into walls and you lose your armor. All the fighters had armor and clothes. They'd get ripped off. It was a fun game. I liked it. Here we got one of the Samurai Showdowns. It was a really good fighting game series. You could actually, kind of like fatalities, sometimes you could chop people and blood would spurt and their body would just fall in half, and you could actually kill people in this game. Very cool. And then I got this really strange Data East fighter and some VG Advance, some weird nosebleed 2D fighting gal game. I just got it because I'm a pervert. This is really strange characters, really funny fighting game. Now on to the disc art. So look at the Japanese fighting series. I mean, X-Men Children of Atom, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, Marvel Super vs. Street Fighter. Amazing art on it. And then look at the American one. Ugh. Yuck. Street Fighter Collection was 2 discs. Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2. These are Japanese. That's why they look cool. Very good art here. This is Japanese and American. Right next to each other. So you get to see it. Baku Baku. This is a game I don't have the case for, but this was a fun, like Tetris ripoff. Here goes Knights. This is another Bust the Move series. It's kind of like a Tetris in reverse. This is a great cover. Astal is the name of that good 2D side-scrolling game. Look at that cover. That's it for my Sega Saturn collection. Thanks for watching.